Cave diving is one of the most impressive but yet insane extreme sports out there. The thought of being in an enclosed, dark, narrow space while underwater at the same time sounds like absolute hell to me. Underwater caves can be extremely dangerous. The low visibility as well as the depth of these caves, where one mistake can easily turn to disaster. Where a delay of 60 seconds can mean life or death, it's certainly not for the faint-hearted. Unfortunately, but not surprisingly, there has been many stories of cave divers losing their lives in pursuit of scientific investigation, to draw new maps of unexplored passages in caves, or for the pure love and adrenaline that it can give you, along with the challenges it brings. One such story took place in the deepest section of an underwater icy cave, where these 5 divers found themselves in the worst possible case scenario, where only 3 would come back alive. On February 6, 2014, in Rana, Norway, Patrik, K, Jari H, Jari U and Vesa planned a very dangerous deep dive into the underwater cave. The underwater ice cave was known as the Plura cave, which actually they discovered was connected to another cave by the name of the Steinelfage dry cave, where both Kai and Patrik had previously discovered the connection between the two caves. Patrik, Kai and another diver did what was known as a traverse, where they started on the Stein cave and finished on the Plural exit. This time around, they wanted to start at the Plural cave and travel through and finish at the dry Stein cave, and they felt they were confident to be able to do so because they had done the opposite traverse before. Another very important note to mention here as well is that they did have to actually crack through literal ice to get underwater, and the cold adds a whole new level of difficulty for the divers. Plura is also one of the longest underwater caves in Northern Europe, with passages going for several kilometers. The divers did, however, come really well prepared, with plenty of oxygen canisters, a snowmobile as well as underwater scooters. The plan was pretty simple, to split into 2 teams 2 hours apart. This helped improve the overall visibility for both teams, because as soon as the second team got into the cave, all the sediment and all the mud would have settled after the first team had left. The journey should take about 5 hours as long as everything goes to plan. When they started on a very cold morning in February, it was -3 degrees Celsius. Patrik cut out a hole in the shape of a triangle, and he and Huotarinen decided to head into the cave first. The 2 divers used their underwater scooter in the journey, which with the cold temperatures and changing depths helped them conserve their energy. The divers were of course all certified experienced divers and had all the credentials to back it up. They also used what is known as closed circuit rebreathers, which gave them 17 times more oxygen than a traditional tank used in diving. The rebreathers basically cleaned the exhaled carbon dioxide and mixed it back into their O2 tank. Patrik and Jari eventually reached the lowest point of the cave, which was over 400 meters in depth. They decided to begin the ascent up the cave because the longer they spent down in that area, the more time they would need to decompress. This is when things started to go wrong for the pair. As Patrik ascended towards the Stein entrance, he noticed Jari was not behind him, so he turned back to check on him. Jari was showing signs of distress as his light was moving around frantically. Jari then asked Patrik to remove one of the cylinders as it was blocking his way up the ascent. Patrik did so and began to ascend again, but Jari's scooter was stuck between rock and he was panicking, which is the worst thing you can do at this depth when you have a rebreather on. Patrik helped him clear in a quick manner, but Jari unfortunately could not calm down. Jari began to switch between his bailout gas and his closed circuit regulator multiple times, but eventually he stopped doing that altogether. Patrik, noticing this in an attempt to save his friend's life, put a regulator over Jari's mouth and purged it with oxygen, but Jari instead inhaled a lot of water and died. Patrik had to try calm himself at this point, knowing that there was nothing else he could do for his friend, and checked his dive computer on his wrist as it told him the depth and the number of decompression steps he had to do while he made his ascent. Because of the extra time he spent at this current depth, it told him that he had to stay for 7 hours at that depth before he could reach the surface to survive, but for every minute at this depth meant he had to spend 10 minutes to decompress. He had no choice but to carry on and risk decompression sickness, as he simply didn't have enough oxygen to make it otherwise. Jari, Yu and Vera began their descent and reached the bottom of the cave in good time. Vesa was the first to discover his dead friend blocking the path. Vesa then told Jari that Huotarinen was dead. Kai at this point didn't know what was happening as he was at the back, but he could see that his friend Jari was freaking out, switching between his closed regulator system and the bailout gas. Kai tried to calm him down, but Jari just simply could not calm down, and as a result, he died in a very similar manner to his friend. But little did he know, things were actually a lot more worse than he imagined. He then discovered that his other friend also died as Vesa was trying to squeeze through the gap, who the Dorian was blocking. Vesa was breathing pretty hard and Kai wasn't sure if Vesa would be able to make it. So he made the hard decision to turn around and escape back the way they had entered. At this point, Kai, as he was returning back, realised he only had 2 rebreathers and very little oxygen left. His bailout gas was useless because it was only designed for descending and not ascending. He knew that if he did all his decompression stops, he would run out of oxygen and suffocate. So he took the risk and didn't make any decompression stops until he got to the air chamber. He stopped to the surface of the chamber to breathe in the air and think about what he should do next. From there, he would head back to the Plura entrance. He continued his ascent, although his scooter had stopped working at this point, which added an extra 30 minutes for him to reach the entrance, ignoring the remainder of the decompression stops he was supposed to make. On the other side of the cave, Patrik continued his ascent, making decompression stops along the way. He too realised that he would have to ignore some of his stops if he wanted to make it to the surface and survive. He managed to get to the surface 90 minutes faster than he was supposed to and waited. Amazingly, Vesa managed to actually catch up to Patrik and would surface not long after Patrik. Now at this point, Kai reached the entrance of the cave and eventually found the hole and climbed out, relieved to be alive but also carrying the guilt of leaving his friends behind. Kai wasn't sure if Patrik or even Vesa was alive at this point as he sat in his truck to warm up and rest. Now eventually Vesa and Patrik would find him in the truck, delighted to see that he was still alive. Kai of course was also delighted because he was almost convinced that he was the only survivor of this nightmare. In the retrieval attempt, 3 experienced drivers from the UK did attempt to retrieve the 2 bodies that were left behind. However, after a couple of attempts, they deemed it too dangerous to do so. So the officials closed the cave off and banned any sort of diving in it. The 3 surviving friends decided in the spring that they would get their dead friends out of that cave. Vesa couldn't dive because of his spinal issues, because of the decompression sickness, and Kai was way too anxious to partake, but Patrik decided that he would go back down and with the help of a friend by the name of Sami Pakarnian and retrieve their dead friends so they were able to be laid to rest. It's such a tragic story and it goes to show how quickly things can go wrong over small minor incidents leading to tragic outcomes. No matter how prepared you are, certified, experienced, these caves are unforgiving, which was why I respect these guys for taking such insane challenges, but also wonder if it's actually worth the risk that comes along with it. Thanks for watching guys, hope you enjoyed. Let me know in the comments down below what you thought of the story, if you've ever heard of any sort of caving adventures or tragedies. Unfortunately, there's many more examples, and if you'd like me to do some more stories, let me know and I'll be happy to do so. Rest in peace to the 2 guys that unfortunately passed away. Unfortunately, with something like this, these guys know this is the risk you take and this is the potential outcome. So as tragic as it is, you know, at least they died doing something they loved. But that's it guys, thanks so much for watching. I will see you in the next video. Peace out.